I just sent a few feelers out, and I think I sent a very long-winded message to some teachers who've been writing the paper for a while, and then I put a post in the Iowa Ag Teachers Lounge to see if any ag educators wanted to try it out, because the majority of our teachers that do send students are ag educators. There's all those other disciplines I mentioned. So this is something that if we go through this today and you think, I think I've got a good process, I don't think I'll use it, it's completely fine. We just want to test this out, and if you use it with this student, or if you get started with it and you feel like it's better to just do this one-on-one with a student, don't feel like you have to finish it all the way through. But I think the benefits of this, when we were talking about the charts that carry over student notes and the ability to record your sources, so it's easily built into a works cited that at the end, but also that there's a lot of guided questions that we took from the handbook, but that turn it into this really great compare and contrast within ThinkSpace, so they can weigh their research that they found and better justify their solution, that it's not just, well, I think education's the solution, we should build schools. Why? Make the case for that. And so, again, this is completely your option to do, but I think it'll be really helpful too, I'm hoping so. So we definitely would like your honest feedback, and we want to do the phone call today before we started using it, that if there's things that if you're looking through it that you have questions on, or that we can tweak before you start using it as a tool, you can do that. But we don't want to take up too much of your time. I would say, maybe it's 3:40 now, that maybe, I don't know, could y'all like going through it, giving you time to ask questions, that maybe 4:10, like maybe 30 minutes to get through the platform and ask you guys questions, so you can enjoy the rest of your snow day.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. And maybe I am not sure if I want to start with asking you questions about what do you struggle with most when you are helping your students do these essays, or should I go into the tool first? But I think I'm comfortable knowing, okay, what is it that you struggle with most when you are helping your students do these essays? That will help me kind of show you how the tool is going to help you, and how even the process that they have, which I've put online, will help you. So would you like to go, Jennifer, first?
Sure. So last year I used the Iowa Youth Institute whole process and paper as a final for my agronomy class, and we had gone through lots of different aspects of agronomy, from physiology and some of the challenges, insect and weed pressures here in the United States. But then I gave them the opportunity to select one of the countries. So I kind of took them through the guide that Iowa Youth Institute provides, and they had to, they basically ended up writing the paper. Challenges, most kids don't like writing papers, surprise. But a lot of my kids in that class are juniors, and we discovered quickly that there's confusion about what citations are based on what they've had so far in their high school English department. And so I had to be semi-flexible. Now, most of the students in that class had no interest in going on to the Iowa Youth Institute, but I had a student who was dead set on it. So I didn't have to choose and select, which was all right. But I think it's the managing the time and getting it set up and working with each individual student to get what they need, like you were saying, how you break it down, how you get the details in, because some of them haven't even taken a composition class in high school yet. So that is, they're not sure at this point how to write a well-written paper. So then sometimes not well received that, well, you're the ag teacher, and so sometimes they think it's crazy to expect them to apply those English principles in another subject matter. So I'm just looking for options and ideas. This year I had students instead of writing a paper, they developed a slideshow with, I had them just pull images and then detailed information in the notes for them as far as the information, because I didn't want them just reading a slide to me. So it was an image loaded, basically going through some of the process, so they have a really good start if they want to write the paper. So that's what we did just recently here.
Okay, so that's really interesting to know, is how you are trying to navigate. Yeah, and so 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, it's really hard to expect them to, there are many things that you will have to not only teach them how to research, but even how to write in this way. So there are so many aspects you have to handle, and there's just one you, and you can't be at so many places. So that's exactly what ThinkSpace does, is it helps you clone yourself, like
Perfect.
it helps you walk your students through something, and like you are right there with them. Okay, there is one tool we do have, which I haven't used in this because there was no need for it. But if you wanted to do some kind of pre-exercises to help them understand how to write citations, we could develop that for you too. So it could be something that they just go through and understand, okay, how do I write how do I cite this? How do I cite that? And they get your expert answers to kind of go back and look at. And I can show you how that works. That works very well in cloning yourself, to see how it is. Gail, what about you?
Well, I've actually, I've taught at 2 different schools when I've done the World Food Prize. So my first school, it was part of their AP environmental science curriculum. And that was that was the easy part, because it just fit completely in there. I just switched around my curriculum, and I had maybe at tops I had 11 students in that class. So they were all there for a certain reason, and they were good at writing papers. They were good at doing this. There was nothing, I really didn't have any problems. They actually did hunger banquets. They did everything. So
wow.
that wasn't as bad. Now, coming into my new school, I've been there for 3 years. I'm now teaching an ag class. I've been using it kind of as a precursor in the ag class, but mostly I do it more as I get all my classes, I introduce it in during October, because they know that I leave and I take kids. And then we have more of a club where we actually meet together and do things. So I don't get the time to spend with them as much as I want to. And I would say I'm also into that area where the actual writing techniques, I don't have the time to spend with them to teach them how to do the citations and things like that. Because I also not only do this, I also have science fair, which I've got 50 kids writing papers for that and that kind of stuff. So it's that whole writing aspect that I don't have that time to put into. I need to teach you how to write a good research paper. And
Perfect. Yeah. So maybe that is an aspect we can address and kind of add a few more phases or do another case just to help them get to the writing bit. But mostly what even graduate students find, and me too, if I've told to write something or research something, is just so overwhelming. It's just like, what? There are like 200 plus countries and I need to choose one. And then there are so many topics and I need to find a problem to work with, and I don't even know where to start. So it's like looking at the mountain, that we need to get there and then saying, oh, it's too hard. So I would love to show you the tool now and what about it is really helpful to this process. What are the core principles that this is based on? So if I may just share my screen, and please let me know. Oops. If you all can see it. Do you see that? So Kelsey, this is going to be familiar to you, but I thought I could still help them. So when I saw, what was really exciting to me about the World Food Prize process is that they had actually put in a whole lot of work behind it. they had already they had a very clear process. Okay, they said you need to do this, then you need to select a family, and they were trying to make it as simple as possible. And that is the only thing you really need in ThinkSpace, is that you have a very clear process outlined. Okay, and their prompts were very good. They had reflective questions which made students think about the questions more deeply. And they had very good resources. They have this whole Pinterest board, and it's got varied resources, which is how going through their Pinterest board is how I found the resources that I was looking for, more updated ones. And the whole process was kind of recursive, is what I thought. Like, you go to research a country, choose it, compare, choose it, then go on to your next bit of research. So it was really helpful to, it was very easy, and I will say really enjoyable for me to put this process into ThinkSpace. But the needs that I found are very much exactly what you guys have said, is that you needed a tool to scaffold the process of research and choice. So how do I research a couple of countries and then pick a country? Okay. How do I organize and use my research data? Okay. How do I help kids bring all these different discrete pieces together? Because it's all very discrete. And then how does now this turn into an essay? And how do I improve the writing process? So you need to be giving feedback all the time. And so how can I make that easier is something that you need. And something which we haven't put in here is because we weren't sure how it would work is peer feedback. That maybe they can get feedback from their peers. Like you said, you have a club, right? So they could be helping each other make their essays better or something. Mm-hmm. And then finally, how do I teach the basics of writing? How do you see the credibility of sources, citing references, bibliography, all of that. So ThinkSpace has this signature learning architecture where, in most other technologies, you have one assignment. So if you have different assignments, if you have stages to your assignment, you would have to break it into that many different assignments. But in ThinkSpace, you can take a complex problem. Let's say I want to write this essay, and I can break it down into little phases. And that's all part of the same assignment. So it's not 100 uploads, and it's not many, many different applications and submissions. It's all one. And then the tool which is most useful for us in ThinkSpace, for you, was carry forward. So ThinkSpace has the ability, so if you ask a question in one of the phases to a student, it can bring it forward for the student to work on incrementally. So you can start a thought and then you can build on a thought. You can remind them what they were thinking of and then make them go deeper into it. So for example, in phase 1, if I say, what are your motivations for implementing team-based learning? If that's a question, and the student will write his or her answer, and then you can bring it forward to a completely different phase. Okay, and then you say, now can you answer these questions about it, or what do you think about what and what? Okay, so that is the basic tool that we've used. The second tool which I thought would be very useful for you is our feedback tool, our commenting and feedback. So students, after they have written something, they can upload a PDF. They have to convert their Word documents into a PDF and upload it. And you can actually comment on them right here. So there's this comment button on the lower right. So you can open it and you can comment on it. Their peers can comment on it. For this, you would have to form teams, but they can get feedback from their peers. Okay. And you also, now if you are writing the same comment to 15 students or 20 students, you don't want to be writing the same thing over and over again. So we actually have something called a library, a comments library. So as you write the comment, you can save it, and the next time you just click on it and plonk it in. So it's saving you maybe seconds, but your one comment can be reused over and over again for different students, because after a point, you'll see that they are having the same kind of problems. You are having to say the same kind of things to many students at the same time. So if I could like show you one, should I show them this internship research that we borrowed from, Kelsey, or jump into our case?
I think it would be good if you're okay with it, just jumping into our case to just see the reality of what our paper looks like in this. I think
let's do that.
Especially since you guys both mentioned that it's just the writing process, and to see what how the notes carry over. Just one big thing that I really am excited about with this, we see a lot of students when we get to sit in on the oral presentations every now and then. You know, for example, when we ask them, why did you pick that country? Well, my cousin went to that country, or I heard it about in the news. But the charts that this creates for them after they've written their notes in them, they've got that chart in front of them, and then it asks them, well, which country are you going to choose now? And they can see that chart right there. So it's not just a matter of, oh, I guess maybe I don't want to do that country because I thought that that's what I wanted to do because it sounded familiar to me. But after researching Brazil, and I can see all my notes in here, I can better elaborate on why I want to do Brazil. So it forces them to justify their decision more, I think. So, but yeah, take it away, Kajal.
To justify the decisions, and also it helps them think. I mean, we cannot expect anyone, especially high school students for the first time, to just know why they're doing something. We need to help them. We need to lead them to it, right? We need to tell them it's important to think of why. And so, I mean, this is just scaffolding. This is just cloning yourself and helping them do all the thinking. So this is the case when you start on it, and it just outlines, it lays the groundwork for what they will be doing. So it outlines what they want to do, what is food security, and what is expected of them, and just getting them excited for it. When they start the case, they move on to the first case. And the step one is explore a country. So what we really wanted is an interactive map which would help them think about the countries. And I know, and we put it here in red, that please skip United States, Japan, and all that stuff because they are advanced economies. And we managed to find this really nice interactive map, which if you click on it, it'll take you to the website. And this is really interactive. So I can move around and say, okay, I want to choose Mali. And it gives me all this data about Mali. And what is best about this is I think these are partners with the World Food Prize. Corteva is a partner. Right?
Yeah, Corteva sponsors the Global Food Security Index. So
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So they have all this data, real data pulled from real statistics. Maybe, I mean, this really excited me when I saw this map. And so it tells you GDP, it tells you the challenges that are faced. And then each of these open up into more data. Household expenses, food consumption, gross domestic product. So when you're talking about family, when you're talking of context, it helps them understand the severity of a problem. So they are able to go through all of this data. Okay, but what do I do with this data? Okay, so we had all the questions. We thought that maybe they could think of 3 countries. And the questions that they had in the World Food Prize, we just put it here. So what is the name of the country? So let's say India, okay? I want to choose India and Bhutan and Brazil. These are the 3 countries. And you don't have to save it. If you notice, the minute I even click into the input box, the response is saved. So they don't have to worry about, oh, my computer blew or whatever.
And these are the same, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. These are all the questions from the handbook. So again, we haven't done anything different with the handbook. We've just put in an easier to use format so they can copy and paste notes. So I just wanted to reiterate that it's nothing like new in terms of like the guided questions from the handbook. And certainly you can use other sources. We just wanted to have a good starting point for them, that map, but they're going to probably need to find other sources to find out these other pieces of information.
That's right. And so all the questions from the handbook are there. And I also put in an extra input box. So is there any other information that you found that you find interesting? Put that in too, because it's all going to help you write your essay. And the next thing is credible sources. So at every stage, I have them write what source did you use, because keeping a track of where you found what data is really important. And so if they click here, it takes them to the ABCs of determining credible sources. It's a very simple website, okay? It's authority, accuracy, and the B is who, does it benefit anybody? What kind of bias is there? And currency and coverage. And plus, what is most important about it is it has all these tutorials. So how do you evaluate internet sources? How do you, they have tutorials to help them learn how to evaluate and how to cite sources and all. So this is one of the resources which I have plugged in as much as possible. So what websites, books, or articles did you gather the information from? Put them all in here. So once they do this, in the next phase, all of that carries forward. All their inputs carry forward into a chart where they are able to compare it right there. Kelsey, you have already done something here, right? So maybe I could show yours because yours are more authentic.
Sure. Yeah, I started doing this, but I wasn't actually like putting in actual like facts. I realized how much time I was running out of. But at least like they're more like to answer the question. But I was not doing a good job of taking my time to find this information. But you can at least see like how I typed it out. So, but the other thing to point out is, they can put no information found. So because a lot of times this is all just anecdotal information I've received from teachers that, they see their first draft of their paper and maybe it's 2 pages and they say, well, did you find this, this, and this? But this allows you as the teacher to go in and see if they put no information found for this particular question, maybe that's where you can pull a source in that you know of, but it speaks to things that they can also like build out in their paper. Or you could also say, I know you can find information on climate and geography, like make a comment on that this is super important to the topic that you want to write about. So you should probably find more information on climate and geography, for example. And just to make sure we're keeping on time too, with this chart, they do the same chart with their topic too. So they've got a chart that allows them to analyze their topic. So we don't really need to go through what this looks like when picking their topic. But could y'all just put this into the system into a beautiful chart, and then as you can see carries over into notes.
So then they have to pick one country, right? So they have this comparative, and then they will look at all of that information is carried forward here for the 3 countries that they have, and now say, okay, who is the winner? So I say I want Brazil. Then I want them to copy paste all the information from Brazil into this and all the references. And these expand out. So you can look at the whole thing in one shot, okay? Or you can even download the entire spreadsheet. And the references used. So they always have all that in place. The same thing, then I think they're doing the family, research a typical family. So stuff from what they chose about Brazil carries forward to keep in mind. So they are always keeping in mind what they did about Brazil, and now they are researching a typical family in Brazil. Okay, once they have done that, we are moving on to choosing a topic. And it's the same thing. It reminds them that they are fighting hunger in Brazil, and these are the topics that I want to look into. And this just links them straight to the World Food Prize student paper resources. And then they can kind of go in there and explore each one of them. So if they went into water scarcity, they would get into all these resources for water scarcity. So it's right there for them, not to feel, overwhelmed and, I don't know where to look for it. It gives them a start. It gives them confidence to move on. So the same process is done. All the questions from the handbook are put into the topic, into this chart, and now they have to analyze it. So again, it's all carried forward, and Kelsey had no information on anything.
I got a little behind. I'm not a good student.
Okay, let's just see my fake inputs. Okay, so these are all I was just testing it. So it was all, and then it actually makes them reflect at every point. After browsing through this information, which speaks to you most and why? Okay, what would you like to focus on and why? And then we come to the same thing. You have to pick your topic, and you have to copy and paste the information from it and the references from it onto this box. So it just helps them keep on. Now, how about solutions? So it's a iterative process, So we have the solutions, strengths, weaknesses, and list of references. So what kind of solutions would you like to use? And I think I have given them some link. No, I think this is kind of free form for them. Yeah. And then here is again, all of their chosen country, the family and topic carried forward to help them direct, their solutions. You can't be all over the place. Let's do it in context of what you want.
Actually, I have a quick question for Jennifer and Gail. When your students do write the paper, are they pretty focused on one solution already, or do you make them write 2 to 3 solutions and compare, or is it just dependent on the student?
Mine is dependent on the student, because a lot of times, especially if they've written a paper before, they know exactly what they want to do. Mm-hmm. For instance, Liz is already focused on what she wants to do for her paper this year, and she knows exactly the country, those kind of things, because she's sat and seen where it's at, where I think this for a new person is a really good start. It really helps with that.
Jennifer, how about you? Do they do 2 to 3 or dependent on the student?
Most of the students who wrote the paper last year, it was what is the bare minimum they have to do. I mean, that's the reality. I mean, they were overwhelmed by the idea. Kids get overwhelmed when I say write a 5-paragraph response. Like, 5 paragraphs? I mean, I'm like, guys, that's 25 sentences. It's not a big deal. But they are easily overwhelmed, again, because I'm learning that within our district, they aren't writing papers enough. They just aren't. They're not expected to do it. They do it in English class to a certain extent, but they're not having to do this level of writing. And so it is overwhelming for most of them. I mean, they absolutely learned a lot last year by doing it. Absolutely. So but I didn't have them choosing 3 possible solutions, or, go research 3 countries, and that would have been a showstopper for them. Okay. So Kajal, in this instance, because I know that we require them to put something in this, if a teacher is using this, can they just put NA to keep moving forward if they want to? Okay.
Absolutely. So the best part about this is, yes, you can just say NA and just move on, because if you are sure about what you want to do, but at least it'll make you think about justifying why you want to do what you want to do, And even if it is because I feel strongly because of personal connections, that's good enough. But get it out there. So that those are the personal connections which are driving your choice. So what your choices are based on. So yes, they absolutely could. I could even make it so that they don't have to answer any of these. They can just click on, but I don't want to encourage that, because I don't know how much you want that. So that all depends on what you all think. Okay. See, because we do have this thing here where right now I'm forcing them to write something in the boxes. So there are 12 input boxes, but I can take that off. Now, I did not show you this bit. Let me go back and just show you where it's not so big. So at the end here, so in ThinkSpace, when you hit submit, it's like you submit a paper or an assignment. So it's done deal. You can't go change it. But because this is a reflective process, it might be that, they think about something and say, actually, I really want to go back and change something about what I wrote, or I found more information. As long as they don't hit submit, they can go back and change anything they want in their input boxes. Okay. So I did leave that open. I thought, and Kelsey thought so too, that would be a helpful thing to have rather than, have them locked into an answer.
And if they accidentally hit submit, it's easy from either yours account as a teacher or even my account. We can go in and go back and find, because each student that uses this will have to create their own account. We can unlock it so they can get back to it. So honestly, if they accidentally press it, if you're experiencing issues or have a question, we'll definitely be here. You can give me a call, and if I don't know how to use it, I'll give Kajal a call. But it's more just easy fixes like that. But that's why I put the stop sign there, so hopefully they won't.
Yeah. And so now the solutions carry forward. So we've tried to keep the format very consistent. So the design is consistent, and they know exactly what is coming next. And here we make them reflect on it. So would these solutions meet all the needs of the population in the country? And so all their solutions, all their information is carried forward here, and they can keep on referring it back. Who is going to implement it? Who will manage this project? How will you secure the funds? So let's dig beyond the surface a little bit, because these are not easily solvable issues. But you can do it, So let's learn how to research, and let's think more, let's put ourselves in their shoes a little more. Mm-hmm. So these questions, all of that carries forward into this recommended breakdown. Now comes the part of organizing all this data. So they have recommended 5% introduction, 20% country and family. So all these resources are put in. All of your information is carried forward here. What they need to do is now copy paste it from the right hand side. So all their hard work, all the research they have done, and the choices and all are all right there. Now they need to say, this is what I'm going to put into the introduction. So they will copy paste, and they say, okay, this is what I'm going to put into the references. So I'm going to put it right in there. That's how they would go a bit. So all their content, none of it is wasted. It's now is their time to actively think about, oh yeah, all this family stuff goes into the family portion. Okay, so I am going to put it all here. And, so it's as easy as that. So it just gets them to think about how are they going to go about organizing their paper. And you could be giving them a lot of feedback right here. Go into the comments, and you could give them feedback on how they are organizing it or what they are choosing. At every point, you could be giving them feedback. Once they have that organized, it all carries forward here. This is their introduction. This is the context, country and family. This is the challenges and impact, solutions and recommendations, conclusions, and reference list. Copy, paste it all, take it to Word, and now write it. Okay, clean it up. Clean it up like you want to. Here is the sample paper. I put in a sample paper that they could look at to see what a paper should look like. Okay, how long it is, how citations are done, so they get an idea of what is expected of them. Then this takes them to resources about how to research a paper, how to write a research paper, and so how to do citations, how the MLA formats and all the different kinds, how to write an effective thesis statement. So all that, online writing lab, bibliography and citation tools, how to write. So those tools are right there for them. Oh, see, I did not make that into a different window. So I need to change that a little bit. Always catch a bug. Plus, what the format requirements are, how to do a bibliography, and the plagiarism checks. So this is it. So they can copy paste this into a Word document and start cleaning it up. And they will put up their first, this is where I tell them that you will be getting formative feedback. It's the most important thing. So after they've written and they upload it, this is how the student paper will appear inside of ThinkSpace. And when you comment on it, or if you have somebody else, see, this is a comment that I had given. So supposing you say at this point, you want to say, this needs more clarity, or if you want to say that, you can save it. Now it's been contextualized. When the student goes in here and clicks here, they'll know, oh, that's what it is. And that helps when, if you have something here, okay, and you have written a comment, and the student is up here and doesn't know what comments there are, they can just go down, click on the comment, and when they click on it, it'll move to where the comment is. The way your library will work, so if you see this save, so I can add it to the library, or I can delete the comment, or I can edit it, whatever you want to do, okay? But if you save it to the library, and then you can open your library and you can organize it into different things, okay? Now, I say that I want to use this comment, okay? And I just drop it in there, and here it is. So you can build your library for use year after year, a good start. If that's what I want here, I just drop it in there. And that, it'll save you seconds, but that one comment, you can invest your time in writing meaty comments. You can invest your time in writing really elaborate explanations of what you want them to do, because you can reuse them over and over again. Okay? So that is really, that's the power of having your feedback count, really count.
I know we're running a bit short on time, but are there, after going through all those steps, I know that there's still a couple more steps, but.
Well, after this step is your final paper, and then is submit and register. So there's a whole lot of, I don't know. Well, my daughter chose all of these, okay? And I don't know if you want any of that, but we can always take it out. But we just had some fun with that because she's totally into Harry Potter. So I want a whole lot of applause. So step 7, register and submit your paper. This will link directly to the submission. The links are not active yet, so I haven't put them in. And that's it. Now, the one thing which, if you want this, if you want to teach students, the one tool which I wanted to show you, which we haven't put in, but we could put it as a precursor phase or something, is teaching them how to do citations. There is one thing called expert comments. So for example, this is a trial case, okay? What's in a cookie? So if you want to teach students about ingredient functionality, what are the functionality of different ingredients in a cookie, you just give them naive thing. What does sugar do? Sugar makes it sweet, okay? What does fat or butter do? What does flour do? Whatever. Okay, so you can help them they will just write about it. But it then goes on to an expert phase. So this is the question, this is their answer carried forward, and they can get an answer from you, which is pre-fed. So if you want to build an exercise in citations, if you want to build an exercise in how to organize or write your papers, or how to justify, without you having to comment on it all the time, you could do this. You could pre-feed your answers, okay? and they will get to compare it, and they can reflect on it. Like this one says, okay, this is what you said first. What was new? What new information did you get? How did it, was it surprising to you? Okay, and then you can explore that a little more. So this could happen in many ways, but this is how you can be with 50 students without really spending that much time with them. So your inputs are right there. So this is one thing which there was no need to put it into the writing process, but if that is something you are struggling with, is helping them how to write, that's what we could do something like that. So yeah, so we've just put in first draft and second draft. We could make this a peer evaluation. So their friends could be looking at the first draft, and you could be looking at the second draft, which is a cleaned up draft. So they would have to, and I also kind of said here that getting feedback and incorporating feedback and rewriting your paper is the best way to get it smooth. Ask at least 3 people, proofread, and rewrite your paper incorporating the suggestions. And so hopefully that will help them learn how to write a research paper. This will be the final, and then last step, register. So 7 steps into how many phases? 14 phases is what we did.
So does this, look like something that you'd be interested in using or testing out, or might need to explore it a little bit first to decide?
I would like to explore it just a little bit more. I mean,
I think it would be a really good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it looks like just like, and I'm gonna, like how I had to write papers in high school, using my index cards and stuff like that, and organizing your index cards, which they do have no clue how we did that. They just sit down and start writing. That doesn't work anymore. This is the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
This is the upgraded version of using index cards to write a paper. How's that?
Yeah. I think it just takes some time to get used. I know it took me a little bit to mess around with the platform, but once I was in it, I was hooked. I think, Jennifer, to what you said earlier, that, even comparing 3 countries, it might be something that might stop them in their tracks. But to someone who's really interested in writing this paper, it actually might be a better process for breaking down their notes. I could definitely see that this could maybe kind of split students between the ones who really want to go for it and the ones who are like, I thought this might have been cool, but realizing that this is a lot of work. But
I think it's that whole portion that, especially I've been struggling with this past semester, is that whole idea of that critical thinking. It's more than just checking off the boxes. It's, I need to think about what I'm doing rather than just, I'm going to write what I need to write. I mean, example, I have an AP, an A&P quiz that I just graded, and I'm like, they weren't thinking. They wanted to just memorize what they needed to do to be able to put it down on paper. And it was an epic fail. It was like putting 7 things in order, and they could not do it because they couldn't think through it. And I think this is a real good tool to make them think and make them critically think more on what they need to get out of what they need. I know that's using it redundantly, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think students, when they are challenged to do that, and if they are helped in doing that, like if they are, there are many who do rise to that occasion because they just don't know how. And once you give them the railings and the ladder and the, to be able to climb, you'll be surprised how many would get more excited about it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And at least that's what I'm hoping would happen.
Yeah. I think, go ahead, Jennifer.
Sorry. I was just going to say that I think the way you have it set up, the 3 different countries, I think if my students had this ThinkSpace platform to work through that, it wouldn't have been overwhelming. Like, it wouldn't have been a big deal to think about doing some basic research on 3 countries. So I think it's really good that it's right now locked in, that they have to respond. I think that's really good. And I think that it wouldn't be that painful for them to go through that process, where the whole idea of researching a country and all the information, it was overwhelming. But I think this would break it down, more realistic for most students.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, yeah, and honestly, as you go through it, if you're finding challenges with it, like, take note of that, or I would really love to just follow back up with you after IYI to see if your students actually ended up finishing the whole process through ThinkSpace or not. I'll send this recording to the other teachers who couldn't make it today, but this is really, honestly, if you decide that you get into it and you hate it, like, tell us too, because we don't want to eventually start promoting this and then teachers turn away because it's just too difficult to use. So which is why we wanted a few select teachers to just test it out first. So I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but Kajal, the other thing I just wanted to point out to them is how can they invite their students to ThinkSpace so they have their own account. So
right.
Yeah.
Right. And we would also be looking at refinements. Okay, what are the refinements that you would suggest to this? What kind of questions and all that? So what you would need to do if you are signed into ThinkSpace, you would have this button, or I could set it up for you. Okay, so you can just email me and tell me, I want send me the emails of the students you want to give access to, and I could help you do that. But all you would need to do is you create a new space, okay? And name it after your school or class or whatever you want to, okay? So when you do a new space and you say World Food Prize, which school are you in, Jennifer, Gale, whatever?
Jessup, J-E-S-U-P.
Jessup. Okay, World Food Prize, Jessup, Jessup course.
J-E-S-U-P.
J-E-S-S-O-P?
S-U-P. Yeah, U-P. Yep.
Jessup High School, okay. Or whatever. Okay, and you update space. Oh. Darn. Yeah.
Honestly, if Jennifer and Gail, if you guys are okay with it, and Kajal, you're okay with it, since you know ThinkSpace really well, like,
I totally could. So you just tell me what you want. Send me the emails of the students you want on it,
okay,
and I can help you get it all set up for you.
Okay.
And you would, of course, be on it too. And then if you want to know how to comment or if they need more help about doing something, just shoot me an email. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the best. Or I could have a meeting with your students. We could do a Zoom meeting with your students, or I could come to your schools and help you get them started. We could do a demo right there and help get you started. And so I'm happy doing that too. So whatever works for you, I'm happy to help you do it. Mm-hmm. Okay. So where are you located? Where are both your schools?
I'm in Southeast Iowa.
Where?
Southeast Iowa.
Southeast Iowa, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm in Northeast Iowa.
That'll be a fun drive, both ways. I'm in Central Iowa, so I think I can get to both places. So yeah, I am happy to do it either way. I can create the spaces. I can invite your students. They would just get they would get an email from ThinkBot just like you did, and they would be in. It's very easy. So if you wanted to try the process yourself, sign up and try the process yourself so that you would be familiar with the questions and all. And if you want to change anything, let me know. I could change it for you. If there is something specific to your needs, if you need, I could make it for your box only. So it doesn't interfere with the main process here, you know. If there is some things you want taken out, some things you want added, we could do it like that. Whatever works for your needs is what we would like to make it happen.
And Kajal, what's the exact name of the paper within ThinkSpace? Because I know, so they only have access to the World Food Prize paper, because I know these are all your spaces, right?
Yeah, they will have they will only see this one box, and they will see pilot draft. But I can change the name of this.
So they just need to look for pilot draft.
Let me just, I hope it's not just thrown me out right now. It did, see? I knew it.
Yeah. Oh.
I can change the name. So that's what it will go as.
Okay.
That's what you will see once you log in. And then you can work through it. And if, for me, it's so easy. I just have to copy it into your space. I just have to make your space, copy it into it. And this is how you would invite your students. If you wanted control of it, if you are interested in learning, I could, but I don't want to put more things on your plate because I know how overwhelmed you already are. So I'm happy just doing this. All you would do is either import a roster, emails, or just invite them. So it depends on how many you have. And keep on talking to me. Like, I want to incorporate this. I want to put these students in a team so they can look at each other's work, and I could totally help you do that.
So what we could do is probably give you guys time to explore it a little bit, and I could follow up within like a week just to touch base and say, hey, hope you had time to look through it, and whether or not you want Kajal to add your students or you want to invite them yourself, or if you have a list of questions, even don't wait until next week for me to send out an email. But if you have questions as you're sorting through it, definitely email us. But I'll just do a touch base next week to see how things are going and where you guys are at. And but really, I won't bug you too much this semester. It's really for you guys to use however you want to use it. So, but yeah, any other questions that you guys may have before we head out?
Questions, comments?
No.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I'm really, oh, go ahead, Gail.
I just want to play.
Yeah. And honestly, the great thing about this is that if you have an account, you guys can also create others in there, right? Because I listed them as instructors, Kajal. So like if they wanted to use this for other assignments.
That's what I was thinking is,
yes,
that I have, 50 science fair projects going on at multiple schools now.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, if you have science fair at different schools, you could just have one space and you could invite all the students, one process, all done right there, which you could look at. So if you want to do all that, I can help you. And because that would involve you knowing the tool a little more to manage it. And I can help you, set it up or manage it or whatever. But that would be absolutely awesome.
Okay.
To take this process and this tool to high schools or schools and, help you would be great.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Well, I'll let you guys enjoy the rest of your snow day, but thank you, Kajal, for walking through this, and we'll just connect later and you guys can play.
Okay.